These are two of my primary devices in front of me here. This is a Lenovo laptop. This is a gaming handheld. What's the problem with both of these that you may not know because you can't see it? Neither of them have dedicated graphics. This one here does not have dedicated graphics, and this gaming handheld / tablet thing does not have dedicated graphics. But there is one thing that these both have that make this video relevant and cool. That is dun, 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 Oculink. Oculink. What is Oculink? Well, a lot of people will hook up external GPUs, eGPUs, over USB 4, and it works just fine. Problem is bandwidth, so you end up losing like 40% of your performance, which is, I guess, better than an iGPU, potentially, but not great. Oculink, on the other hand, does not have that same limitation. The actual bandwidth is significantly higher, so I noticed that in most cases, the amount of performance that you lose using Oculink is almost irrelevant, to be honest. There's a little bit, but it's more or less irrelevant, especially with the type of things you would pair up with these here. I actually use it here. So you can see this here. This is my MINISFORUM DEG1, and you can see, where is it? There's an Oculink cable. Oh, jeez. It runs all the way over here. Man, that was hard to reach. All the way over here, and I plug it into this device here. I use it all the time. This is basically my desktop setup at this point. I hook my ThinkBook with Oculink up here to this Oculink port into my 5070 Ti, and I'm cooking. Amazing performance. I will show you something though. I don't want to carry a 5070 Ti desktop around with me when I'm using my handheld. I'm fine with it with the desktop, with the laptop setup, because it creates an amazing desktop setup. But when I'm taking this one with me, I don't want that. The performance of this is pretty good, but I want more. So what do? I buy this. This is the MINISFORUM eGPU solution that has a AMD 7600m XT, 8 GB. Something, if you don't know AMD for whatever weird reason, it's somewhere around an RTX 4060. We'll test that probably in this video, because see what the difference is. But anyways, so it's an MGA1 model. It's a dock of sorts as well, so you get pretty beefy cooling. This is a metal solution here, so it's pretty beefy. Power supply is actually built into this. All the other ones that I've tested in the past, eGPUs, actually do not have that. You plug them in, and there's a big, massive power brick. Not in this case, you just get this. So it's a nice, clean solution. You do get the Oculink port, as you can see there. It comes with an Oculink cable, of course. That's a USB-C. It also supplies power, 65 watt, more than enough for a handheld or even my laptop, to be honest. Supply those there. And of course, then that will give you access to some extra ports, USB-A ports, fast USB-A ports, and then your displays. Sick. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so here is Hogwarts Legacy. We are at 1440p with some scaling. We'll have to see what we can get here. We turn off the scaling, so let's go none. Interesting. So this is 1440p native high, no scaling. 1440p native high, no scaling. And we're getting almost 60 in Hogsmeade. Let's come out here, and then we're getting 60 out here. I don't have VSync on. This is only 60 hertz refresh screen, so I don't want to turn on VSync. So there'll be some screen tearing, but that's just the monitor. And just put on some form of VSync or something. Yeah, so it's running pretty well, honestly. 115 watts on the GPU. Range, somewhere around there. Let's try that temperature. Yeah, it's not bad. These GPUs can do like 90, 95 or so before they throttle. It's definitely going to run a little warm at 115, 120 watts. Wow, it's hitting a lot of watts. Yeah, it's definitely a full wattage, 7600M XT. So here's a look at the device here. It's been running for about 1 hour. I went and ate some dinner. And we can see that it's actually pretty cool. I mean, even the hotspot there is only 35. It's metal. No harm to the hand. Doesn't really even feel uncomfortable, to be honest. It's really not that hot. The top is cool. Very cool, actually. Cold air is coming out of there. So hot intake, you can see 53, but the actual metal part where you touch is cool. You have to put your hand into it somehow. And the bottom is cool. right? 30, 40, yeah, 40 degrees max, right? And you're actually like, that's the pads. So it's not going to be super hot. I actually game with these on the back of my couch. And then the Oculink cable running to my tablet here. And it doesn't bother me. I mean, it's there. The noise is not an irritating sound that it makes, and I'm not worried about the external temperatures. As long as it can pull in air and exhaust it out, you'll be fine. It's doing pretty well here. Now again, in this game, this is 1440p. So, I mean, on the iGPU with 1440p high native, it would be running terribly. This is the type GPU, the iGPU in the system itself, which is the most powerful iGPU you can buy, like a true iGPU, especially for a handheld. I mean, you're looking at 1080p low, 1080p medium in some games, 1440p, 1600p, you're looking at low with tons of scaling. And here we're getting 1440p no scaling. Okay, so here we are in Hogwarts Legacy again. We're at 1440p with no scaling. This is on the 4060 now. Same settings. And this GPU has a couple settings there. Just turn it up to max. It more affects the fan than the actual wattage. I'll come out here. And you can see here 1440p high. We're doing okay. Not the best, but okay, I guess. Yeah, it's a fair bit lower than the 7600 MXT. 7600 MXT was hitting around 55 to 60 or so. Here we're at about 48 to 50 or so. Let's do a little run out here. Now, Hogwarts Legacy does generally favor AMD over Nvidia. So if these GPUs were equal, then Nvidia would be behind AMD. So this kind of suggests that they're performing around the same power level, but this title just generally and significantly favors AMD. AMD just does better in it. It's playable, but it's not fantastic. Okay, so Hogwarts Legacy medium, 1080p no scaling. So this is just a medium experience with no scaling whatsoever. You can see that the GPU is not getting hit fully here, but it's still giving us, 55, 50, dropping down a bit here, but still giving us good performance here. GPU is not getting fully hit in this exact example. So let's stand here for a sec. And we're getting about 65 here, 72% GPU utilization, not at full watts. Part of that is it's just, there's other bottlenecks when it comes to things like this. So let's turn this up to high. Now we're at 58. The GPU is actually getting hit harder, right? Performance actually went up. So one of the things here, because you have things like CPU, this is just a little mobile CPU, not running at a ton of watts, and there's other, bottlenecks here and there. A lot of the time when you're running this onto an internal screen, you actually want to increase the resolution or increase the settings, because you can see here now it's actually pulling more out of the GPU. The performance is the same. It's around 60 or so. You can see there. But we're just hitting the one component a lot harder. Okay, so now we're back at Ultra. I had to restart. And the performance is the same, maybe like 2 FPS down, right? This is just proving the point. When you're at 1080p, 1200p especially, you're going to be offloading a lot of work from the GPU onto the CPU, hitting the CPU harder and the GPU less. So the ratio kind of changes. So, here we want to hit the GPU. So as I increase the performance, it actually doesn't affect the frames. We're at like 60 regardless. So a lot of the time you may think, oh, I'm going to throw this onto my handheld and put it at, 1080p ultra low and get a million FPS, but that's not usually how it works, because you're going to end up hitting the CPU a little too hard. These are mobile CPUs, not running at a ton of watts or anything like that. So typically what you want to do is you want to do the opposite. If you were going to go with something like 1200p in this case, you actually want to increase the resolution. You actually want to increase the settings so that you can hit that GPU heavier. And you can see, the watts are now up to 115, 110. Whereas when the settings were down, it was just using less watts, and we're getting the same frames. So now what we'll do is we'll compare to the iGPU. Another thing that you have to note here is that I generally have to turn the performance up. Oops, performance up. Okay, so here is the 4060 internal. This is high, 1200p high. And yeah, I mean, it's considerably slower than the AMD 7600M XT. The GPU, once again, is just, it's not getting hit as hard. I don't know, it's just weird. Sit here for a sec. There it goes, going up a little bit. Let's come in here and let's try some different stuff here. So, no scaling, high. Let's turn it down to medium and see if it makes any difference. It actually just decreases the GPU load, if anything. 4060 internal. This is high, 1200p high. And yeah, I mean, it's considerably slower than the AMD 7600M XT. The GPU, once again, is just, it's not getting hit as hard. I don't know, it's just weird. Sit here for a sec. There it goes, going up a little bit. Let's come in here and let's try some different stuff here. So, no scaling, high. Let's turn it down to medium and see if it makes any difference. It actually just decreases the GPU load, if anything. So on medium, I mean, the GPU is not being utilized fully. It's just, I don't know, weird behaviors, but we're hitting 53. We're doing pretty good now. Pretty good performance. It's not as high as the AMD, but it's much more reasonable. You know, like 5 to 10 FPS behind, depending. So that's 55. The weird thing is, though, that's medium. Whereas on the AMD, we were going with high up here quite a bit. So yeah, you can see, I mean, we went from 61 on 1080p Ultra down to 24, which, to be honest, is actually not bad for this iGPU. But I mean, you wouldn't really want to play like this. I mean, I guess if you were desperate, you could, but it's pretty bad. Come out here. I mean, we can't even hit 30 here. So that's that there. I mean, we were getting 61, 62, and turning down the settings in this case should help a little bit, like that there. So we can come down here and we can go, let's just go down to like medium, probably make me restart. Nope, didn't actually. So down to medium here, right? Medium, it's running better, quite a bit better, to be honest. Like, this is actually playable now. But as you can see here, I mean, on this iGPU, which is the most capable iGPU you can get, like real iGPU, the 890M, and I mean, we're getting 35. On the 7600M XT, on medium. On the 7600M XT, we were getting 61 on Ultra. So considerably more performance and considerably higher settings as well. So, I mean, again, this is still a fantastic handheld and everything like that, but you're able to really push these games like this where, you know, you're kind of shooting for probably like 35, maybe 40-ish gameplay. If you're lucky, maybe 45, depending on the game. You know, you'll be able to push it up there, which is still playable, still fine. But I mean, you're looking at like 40, 45 on low, or the lowest settings you can possibly get, versus, you know, medium to high, even ultra on the other hand, on the eGPU here, and getting, you know, an easy 60 in that situation there. So let's just look at the Oblivion example now and compare that to. Again, wow, it's pretty close to 60 for 1440p with some scaling, but 1440p medium too with some scaling. This is the type game you're playing at 1080p low on an iGPU and praying that it runs. I mean, the GPU is supplying, the game is taking about almost 8 gigabytes of VRAM from the GPU. Some pop in here and there, that's probably just textures rendering, but yeah, I mean, it's almost 60. It's pretty damn good here, honestly. And I mean, yeah, if you're playing on a handheld, you're going to be okay with playing at 58 to 60. I mean, it makes sense. These, do I have VSync on? No, it's just actually getting 60. Yeah, you'll be fine playing at 60 because, I mean, most of these handhelds you're looking at like modern games, like 30, 35. And so you're just like, yeah, 60 is not only twice what you're going to get natively, but you're also massively increasing the resolution here. So, I mean, it's going to give you a very good experience here. Okay, now here's the internal screen. Let's see where we're at for the settings here. Okay, so here we are in Oblivion at 1440p on medium. Now we're going to do FSR to start, balanced FSR, just to do one-to-one comparison, but I will kick over to DLSS because it is frankly a better technology, at least in this situation, because this will have access to DLSS 3, and the AMD will only have access to FSR 3, not FSR 4. So you will be able to get things like transformer model on this here. It's running slower, evidently slower than the 7600M XT, unfortunately. Still significantly faster than the iGPU, obviously, but it is running slower than the AMD. Now we can kick over to DLSS because it's better tech. Probably won't make a big difference in performance, but theoretically it would look better. So go like that. Scaling isn't necessarily the same, but yeah, a little bit better performance actually. It's still lagging behind the AMD GPU, but it looks better, I guess. I can't tell, honestly, I can't tell the difference. Balanced at 1440p on either of them will look basically the same. If you cranked it, I suppose. I mean, I guess that's one thing you can do. Typically, you can use a little bit more DLSS than you can with FSR because it just looks a little better at higher levels. So performance FSR can, performance DLSS can often look as good as balanced FSR. Not always, but often. A little bump, yeah. Not a ton. It actually just decreased demand on the GPU, so it didn't make a huge difference, but yeah, so that's that there. Medium on the internal screen. You can see we're probably actually hitting the CPU a little bit here, but I mean, it's running very well, 1200p. Now there is, with OcuLink, the one thing is when you go back into the internal screen, you actually get a decreased performance than going to an external screen. Not like staggering, but there is a little bit of a decrease in performance. So that's what you'll see here. You know, you were actually getting almost a similar performance here at 1200p medium as we were getting at 1440p up there. Still running better here, but it's similar. Right, so that's 1200p, the internal screen. Now, massive increase in performance over what the iGPU could do. Like, huge increase in performance over what the iGPU can do here. So, and this is how I game most. I mean, I do game on my desktop and I game on other devices as well, my laptop, but most of the time I actually game on this handheld. And sometimes I use the iGPU, but I'm going to be frank, honestly, most of the time I hook it up over OcuLink and just game like this because it's so much more enjoyable, right? Like, sure, yeah, I can game on a handheld. It's not like the cable's in the way. It's just up there. So, like, it's fantastic, to be honest. Very good performance here on the internal screen. Okay, so here is Oblivion again. Now the 4060, but internal. Let's turn that down. Okay, so now we're at 1200p, and we'll go with the same medium and balanced, but we'll do DLSS. Okay, so 1200p balanced DLSS, and yeah, it's just not running as well as the AMD. Same exact situation. Hi there. We were getting about 61, 44, and 39 on the AMD GPU, and here we're getting 45, 18, and 15. Let's get over here where it's a little bit more stable. Just kind of hang out and do a comparison here. Yeah, I mean, it's like 15 on average lower. The 1% lows are less than half, and the 0.1% lows are also less than half, unfortunately. Yeah, so the the performance is lower, just straight up lower, like actually a fair bit, potentially. Okay, so here is Oblivion. This is 1080p or 1200p, I guess it would be. And so 1200p, medium, balanced FSR, the same one we did on the 7600M XT. And on that, I mean, we were getting, it depended, but you know, we were getting 40, 50-ish setting FPS on these settings. Down here, we were able to get up to 60 or 61. It's just not going to happen in this situation, unfortunately. Again, it runs fine on this handheld. You just have to, you know, turn up scaling and really turn down the settings to like low, for example. So you can see here, I mean, we're essentially tripling, not quite tripling, but more than doubling the performance of the iGPU. So, you know, we're getting 25-ish, I'll call it stable 25 or so. Whereas on the eGPU, I mean, it's around 60. A plus minus, whatever, right? Like maybe a little bit down, maybe a little bit up, but around 60. So you're able to take a game like this that, you know, you really have to turn the settings down. And again, play with these moderate settings here, potentially even high settings, and get a very good frame rate of something around 60, 50 to 60 will be very playable on a handheld like this. And these are brand new, super demanding titles, right? We're not testing this against the, you know, 3-year-old titles or something like that. We're testing this against very demanding titles that are out now. So this is the conclusion part of the video here. What do I think about this MINISFORUM? I mean, it's fantastic. It runs very well. It massively increases your performance, considerably more. So, I mean, it's hard to, I mean, you're looking at potentially, depending on the game, double or even 2.5 times more performance when you have this hooked up than this. Sometimes even more. Like a lot of the time, it depends. You're going to go with something like, you know, a medium setting here and get, you know, 35 FPS. And then you're going to go here and you're going to go high setting or even an ultra and get 60 FPS. So you're getting, you know, roughly double the amount of FPS, but also at higher settings. So it does perform incredibly well. This is the type device that you're going to be able to hook up to something like this here, an Oculink enabled handheld, my laptop, which is now too far for me to reach, a mini PC. MINISFORUM has mini PCs, for example. Other brands have them as well. If you have another brand, as long as it has Oculink, you can hook it up. Any of these devices, get this here. You're going to massively increase your performance. You're going to be able to take what is, you know, iGPU performance, even Halo level iGPU performance, and double it or triple it, to be honest, making this thing a 1080p monster. It's going to be able to absolutely rip through 1080p games. But often, when you put it up to 1440p or even 4K, I've actually done a lot of 4K on this. Just not really the point of this video, but when you put it up to 4K, put a little bit of scaling, it also performs very well. You're not going to be playing, you know, the brand new titles at 4K with max settings and no scaling, but you can certainly get by with 4K medium with a little bit of scaling, no problems. 1440p, you can typically go with something like ultra settings with a little bit of scaling or medium native type stuff. And then on 1080p, you're typically just playing 1080p native and just maxing it out. Very good performance. It does run slightly noisier than, you know, full dedicated GPU like the big one there, like this one here. Obviously it's going to be quieter. It's a full GPU. But one thing that it does do is the fan noise of this, it's not irritating. And when I do this, I'm able to actually take load off of this because it's not running the CPU and the GPU. It just has to run the CPU. So the fans actually get much quieter on this device, but they can be a little annoying. And there's more fan noise here, and this has a less annoying fan. So it actually decreases the overall noise of the room when we're doing that as well. Of course, you get the features like the dock and that too. You get multiple displays. So here, you know, you could just hook this up to a little dongle. Typically, you're not going to do that well with high resolutions, and you're going to get one display usually. Here you can do, you know, multi-display, no problem. You get power out of it as well, the USBs as well, and it's all built in, so you can just take this with your little cable. Now we did also show some 4060 here, 4060 mobile. When the 4060 came out, when the 7600 MXT came out, it was reported and purported to be slower than the 4060, which might have been true. I didn't test it right away, but it's not anymore. It's actually faster. On average, it's definitely faster. There might be some games where they're heavily favoring Nvidia, but typically Nvidia pulls ahead in things like ray tracing. On this generation, at least 7000 to 4000 AMD, Nvidia pulls ahead in ray tracing, but you're not really doing ray tracing on either of these GPUs. The classes, they're not powerful enough. 4060 is not fast enough for ray tracing, like at all. It doesn't have the ray tracing cores. It has them, but not enough to make really leverage of them. They can help it perform a little bit when it comes to games that have baked in ray tracing a little bit, but honestly, it's just a slower GPU. The Nvidia GPU cannot perform on the same level as 7600 MXT at the same watts. This has more performance, more raster performance, just more performance overall. Could be a driver developer. This is on the most recent drivers. This device can handle just OEM stock, just stock NVIDIA drivers. I put the most recent drivers on here and the most recent drivers on here, and this runs significantly better. Now, I'm not saying that that translates to desktop necessarily, because part of that could be, generally speaking, this does seem to be a more powerful GPU, just plain and simple. The 7600 MXT just seems to be a more powerful GPU than the 4060 now, period. But I'm not testing these in like a desktop format. I'm testing these in an eGPU format. So in an eGPU, AMD, typically I just find it more compatible. NVIDIA tends to behave a little bit more strangely. I often need to use like a script, like a command level script to get them to run. Even on something like this, the first time you do it, you have to run a command level script. Same with this. And they just don't seem to behave as well on iGPUs. AMD, on the other hand, does not. It just, everything that I've tried from AMD's plug and play, even if it's on an external GPU like this, the MINISFORUM, I just plug in my 9070 XT or 9060 XT, plug it in, boom, right away. Same with this, just plug it in, boom. No problems, no driver things, no weirdness. It seems to utilize the GPU better, whereas NVIDIA stuff does sometimes appear to behave a little bit weird overall. It's just, NVIDIA doesn't focus on eGPUs, I guess, maybe as much, whereas AMD really does, because they're the kings of the handheld space. There's no such thing as an NVIDIA handheld. They don't exist. So then you get this here. Well, I guess the Switch, but that doesn't count. You get this here, and then you end up getting all the AMD stuff. The drivers are plug and play. They're compatible between the CPU and this eGPU. There's no funny business needed, and they just seem to agree with each other significantly better. And that could be partially why the performance is better on this than on this, rather than raw, like, compute performance or whatever. But the point of this video is not to explain why necessarily that they perform better. It's just that they perform better. So this is a fantastic product. It's going to massively increase the performance of your handheld here. And if you're looking at 4060 level performance and you're like, well, the 7600 MXT is slower, it's not. It's actually faster than a 4060. Maybe not in a desktop, I don't know necessarily. The desktop GPU is the same, just so you know. A desktop 4060 and a laptop 4060 are basically the exact same chip. Very minor clock changes between the two of them, but the chip silicon is the same, just so you know. So you can't really expect much more if you got like, oh, this is just mobile and you got a 4060. It would be basically the same thing, more or less. So anyways, the moral of the story is this MINISFORUM is fantastic. It does very, very well. You get access to the dock features, you get access to everything, and you're able to take the MGA1 from MINISFORUM, plug it in with Oculink, get yourself a handheld that has Oculink, get yourself a laptop like my ThinkBook over there that has Oculink, plug it in, and massively increase the performance over what you'd get at stock. So great, great product.